2 is a motion to approve the second reading of an amendment to the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 3, Division 3, Standards of Conduct.
Motion to postpone.
Motion postponed by Councilwoman Rose,
Support.
supported by Councilwoman Daniels. Is there any discussion? Councilwoman.
There are several things in the ordinance that I would like to see maybe modified or changed a little bit. I know I mentioned a few things at the last meeting. One of the items was the reporting requirements. I did not see anything in
gym and cost 50 cents versus, and all joking aside, not to try to joke, but there is probably a threshold on where it becomes possibly unmanageable, depending on what that threshold is set at. So certainly, I think a good point, but I think it's going to require much more effort to add in an additional section. And certainly, if we did that work and came up with your proposal, we would certainly put that on the agenda to further refine the ethics ordinance. But that is just a suggestion. Of course, what is before us right now is a motion to postpone. Councilman Johnson has to be recognized.
It looks, it's $150 per year for an employee. So do we keep a tally sheet for that? Do we write it down on the board? If they have a lunch and divide it by 10 employees and maybe write it down, keep a tally sheet for the whole year?
I mean, one way would be just to have, like, the department head, if somebody buys a whole department, just have the department head submit something that,
But it goes to all the employees.
Through the chair, that's what we want to do. So we
It's
just had,
$150 a year.
so through the chair, what we do is, like, we just had somebody reach out, they opened a restaurant, they want to buy lunch for City Hall, wings, they're opening a wing store. So what we do is they go through my office, they coordinate, they're going to do it in this room here. What we do is we figure out how many employees are going to be coming, we make them give us an amount of money of how much food they're donating. We divide that amongst of how many employees are going to that, and we keep kind of a check sheet of that, because we don't want people to, like I said, people bring donuts and stuff. We don't want anybody to feel like they're getting special treatment because they buy lunch for City Hall or they take the donuts down to DPW. I have never seen excess to that, but when we want to keep it running, like when we get donations now, we keep those sheets in budget and finance. Anything over $2,000 requires your approval. I sign off on any donation. There's sheets that are kept in budget and finance, just in case anybody wants to see that. We keep track of that. Like I said, if I ever felt that somebody was indulging in that, I would definitely bring it up, but we want to make sure that there's some sort of, that everybody knows that you can't exceed that, and nobody, in our staff meetings, Cindy can tell you that it's said, just because somebody brings treats or snacks sometimes, they're treated no different than anybody else. But people do that, and it's a nice gesture in my opinion.
Any further discussion on